Welcome back to the Creating Resilience video series. This is video number 14. We're going to be talking about the last root in our collective well-being tree, and that is routines and rituals, and how that helps build safety and connection and trusting relationships. Routines are very, very important in our life and in our families' lives and in our work life. They increase predictability, and that increases the feeling of safety. If you think way back to the beginning of this video series, we talked about stress, and that stress is any unpredictability in our life. Well, routines put predictability back into our lives. They increase our ability to be more consistent from day to day and moment to moment. And they increase the ability for others to regulate their energy and their emotions as well. And let's face it, routines help us learn through repetition, and we can create good habits with our routines. So I want you to take just a moment and really think about your routines, your work routines, and maybe your home lifestyle routines. We all have different ways that we go through our day. So even getting ready for work in the morning, I know when I wake up, I kind of have my own little morning routine of what I do before I really jump into the bulk of my day. Most people have that. Some people don't. If you need more predictability in your life, or you feel like your children do, maybe build some more routines into your morning and your lunchtime and your bedtime and your dinner time. All those different routines can really be helpful. Our daily routines can be really geared towards our lifestyle and our age. So for a younger child, you might use the routine chart that has pictures on it, like when we get up, we brush our teeth and we get dressed and we make up our bed, things like that. But your morning routine, if you really want to play it out closely, is you can write it down and just see what are the things that I do every morning and every night. And sometimes it helps people who are especially under a lot of stress to just have a chart like this to make sure that every night I do make sure that I take my night medication and I do a 15-minute cleanup of my house. Sometimes those things are really important and we get stressed and we forget them. So having that routine in place makes us more consistent. Your daily routine can include all sorts of things. I love this kids' morning jobs, and that's helpful for kids. It's also helpful for us to have our planning of what we're going to do each day. And it might shift day to day, it might shift Monday through Friday versus the weekend. But some of the things that are really important on your daily routine is some sort of co-regulation. Build it in that you are co-regulating and you are feeling support and connection from those people around you that are your support people. And then if you have children, make sure you build in time that you connect with your child. Maybe it's just walking to school instead of driving to school, or maybe it's taking a 5-minute trip around the block when you get home, or sitting next to each other on the couch and having a conversation just for a few moments. Make sure that you reconnect and try to regulate with other people. The other thing you want to include in your daily routine is practicing calming and maybe even with some calming tools. If you go to work, maybe you can have some sort of fidget there that helps you calm. Or maybe you want to make up cards of different things you can do. Maybe you want to write something that reminds you of the grounding techniques. Or you found 3 certain stretches you can do at your desk or where you are when you're standing and working, and put those somewhere so that becomes part of your routine. Every hour, you're going to do these 3 stretches. But remember too, if you have children, that you want to practice those calming techniques with them and use the calming tools with them routinely. Because if we're not comfortable with those tools when we're calm, then we won't be comfortable with those tools when we're stressed or upset. And the last thing is to really make sure you build in that time for self-care, that connection time with other people that you love, and let your children do the same. Isolation is never a good thing for any of us. We need to be around other people that uplift us and support us. Remember throughout your day that there's all sorts of transitions that happen. So even at home, you transition from waking up to getting ready for work, to packing for work, to going to work. Same with your children. You might have to transition them from eating breakfast to getting their backpacks on and going. And then throughout the day, we have tons of transitions. So remember that when you're working with other people, it's really helpful to announce your transitions and make them very predictable, especially with children. So if you have a group of coworkers and you know that the meeting's going to end in a little bit, it's good to say, hey, you guys, we have about 5 minutes left in this meeting. That helps everybody get ready to kind of transition down. You also want to make transitions engaging and age appropriate if you can. Engaging for adults might be something like, we're going to transition out of our meeting in about 5 minutes. So in about 4 minutes, we're going to do a stretching technique together. So that's age appropriate. For a child, it might be a cleanup song when they're done playing with their toys and have to get ready for bath time. You can always include routine regulation in transitions from one thing to the other. So transitioning into the car, maybe you want to choose a certain way to walk with your child. Maybe you're going to walk backwards, and that's really mindful and uses different muscles than walking forward. You've just built regulation into your routine to get into the car. Those things are also very important. Everything we've talked about can be built into little tiny micro moments throughout your day. All the regulation, all the connection, all the attunement. So make sure that you incorporate that as you shift from one activity to another throughout your day. Rituals are another thing that are really very important. We have routines and we have rituals. Rituals are things that you would usually think of that you do to celebrate or to have certain traditions or experiences you have with your children every day or your family every year. They really, really help build connection. That's what rituals are all about. They build connections and a sense of belonging. Belonging is so very important for the people around us and especially for our children. We want everyone to feel like they are part of a bigger whole. That's what helps us feel that reciprocity I talked about last time, and knowing that we have people around us that are there for us. Routines can very much become rituals, but don't let rituals become routines. This is an example. When my children were little, I spent time in each one of their rooms at night before they went to sleep. And I would sit on the bed and rub their back, and we would talk about the day and what was their favorite part of the day and what was a frustrating part of their day. And that was part of our bedtime routine. But it very much became a ritual. And even when they went off to college and came back, one of them would say to me often, are you going to come and rub my back and talk to me? As an adult, that was his ritual that he wanted to continue with. He wanted that time with me to just have a conversation about our day. So that's how a routine can become a ritual, and it's very beautiful. But we don't want our rituals to become very routine. I've worked with some agencies that have rituals like we're going to do, welcoming activity, and we're going to do a closing activity. And they do it because that's just to check off something on their list. They're not doing it to build connection, and it feels very robotic. And a lot of people don't even engage in the practice because they feel like it's just another thing we're checking off our list. So you don't want your rituals to become routine. I hope that helps. I do think this is really very, very important. If you are someone or you work with someone or a family member has had a lot of adversity and stress and trauma in their lives, it's important to remember that our brains are wired for connection, but trauma rewires them for protection into the back part of that brain. And that's why healthy relationships are really difficult for wounded people. And that's why having routines and having rituals and attuning with people and connecting and regulating with people is so very important, especially for somebody that has experienced a lot of adversity in their life, whether that's you or someone you're dealing with. It's very important to rebuild that connection part of our brain so that we feel worthwhile and we feel a sense of belonging. So you always want to think about your response and your routines. Is it disarming fear and creating a sense of safety? Are you helping regulation for yourself and for others throughout your response and your routines? And are you strengthening connection somehow? You also want to make sure that your response and your routines are meeting the needs in the trunk and the back seat of safety and connection. So, all of these things, we want to just keep going back and checking and making sure, am I creating safety? Am I having regulation? Am I creating connection? Because we can be a thermometer or we can be a thermostat. So a thermometer is somebody that walks into a room, and if there's a lot of angry energy, then they're going to get up and have that angry energy too. Or if it's really mellow and quiet and calm and kind of low down, that's what you're going to do if you're the thermometer. But if you're a thermostat, you can walk into that room with lots and lots of energy and you can help calm it down a little bit, cool it off. Or if you go into a room that's like super quiet and dead and you need some energy, so you need people to start thinking, you know how to bring that energy up. So you get to choose whether you want to be a thermometer and jump in the back seat of the trunk with other people, or do you want to be a thermostat, somebody that can regulate themselves and help other people in that same situation regulate. Your reflection with this video is, what routines do you have now in your day? You might think about your morning or your bedtime. And if you've never thought about the routines, think about, what do you do every day? You might have a routine. And then your action step is to be more intentional and try to plan and follow through with your routines, or follow through with routines with your family. A lot of times, bedtime routines kind of fall off the shelf when everybody gets really stressed. People start watching TV or videos until their kids go to sleep and they forget to brush their teeth and they forget to put on the jammies or take a bath. It's so important, especially for children, to have 3 or 4 things to do to get ready before bed. And one of those things should be a form of connection, whether that's reading a book with them or rubbing their back and talking about the day and helping them go to sleep at night. I hope this has been a helpful video about our routines and our rituals and our responses. Thank you for joining me.